Hey there, folks. Welcome to another edition of Stranger in a Southern Land. I am your host, Jake Manning, and this episode is sponsored by Birdsong Brewing Company. Birdsong Brewing Company brews flavorful, unfiltered craft beers in Charlotte, North Carolina. Birdsong beer is available in numerous locations here in the Charlotte area. Birdsong Brewing provides a wide variety of seasonal and limited releases, as well as year-round favorites, such as the Free Will Pale Ale and the Jalapeño Pale Ale. Birdsong also has a tap room, which is open Tuesday through Sunday, and make sure you check out their weekly THURSty Thursday small batch specials. Feel free to visit them on the web at birdsongbrewing.com or head on down to the tap room and tell them that Jake Manning sent you there. Now, with the sponsor out of the way, let me tell you who the guest is. Our guest today is Birdsong Brewing Company. Birdsong, I can't thank them enough for kind of getting on board with this podcast, this project that I've delved into. So, they've been very supportive since the beginning. And I sat down with JP, who runs their tap room, and she spoke with me about, the ingredients that go into the beer, how they try to get them as local as much as possible, the history of the company a little bit, and also the expansion. They're building a new facility in the NoDa district, which will probably end up being the crown jewel of the NoDa district here in Charlotte. So I'm very excited to sit down with them, and I can't thank them enough for opening up their doors to me. We actually recorded this interview in where they make the beer, where they make the magic, I guess you could say. I got to see behind the curtain, and you do too in this podcast, on the video element, that is. So this is a pretty exciting one, and I just want to get where I'm going to be at this weekend out of the way so we can just dive into this podcast and talk about Birdsong beer. So anyways, this Saturday, Gibsonville, North Carolina, Queens of Combat makes its return in a matinee show at 2 p.m. They got wonderful female wrestlers from all across the world will be there. An exciting card headlined by Jessica Havoc, who is a current TNA knockout, against LuFisto, in a return match, which is no DQ. The thing got a little out of hand the last time they wrestled in Winston-Salem, and now we're bringing it back, and these two ladies are going to lock horns one more time. So pretty excited about that one. And if you're excited about Queens of Combat, make sure you go to combatqueens.com to get tickets to that event. I'm sure there's more than enough available at this moment in time. But anyways, let's just delve right into Birdsong Brewing Company here on Stranger in a Southern Land. Perfect. Can you hear yourself okay?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
okay?
I can hear you crystal clear.
Cool.
So.
I'm not used to microphones unless I'm doing karaoke, so
okay.
What
do you sing for karaoke?
I like Queen a lot. Queen is a good karaoke.
It is a good go-to
band. So pretty much anything Queen or Meatloaf. I'm a really good Meatloafer. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad. It's my jam. Yeah. Tear that up.
And you definitely don't want to be that guy that does Bat Out of Hell and it goes on for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I can't do that one very well. Like, I need the good, I've got that fist pump action. Mm-hmm. I'm getting down there and interpretive dancing. I'm really good at the interpretive dance.
Okay. Yeah. Good for you. We've already kind of rolled into this. I'm here in Birdsong Brewery. I'm with, is it Jacqueline or you prefer JP?
JP is what I go by here. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Just like I'm Jacob, but I go by Jake.
That's right.
It's okay. So, what are your duties here at Birdsong Brewery?
All right. Well, I started out as a bartender about 3 years ago. March will be my 3rd year anniversary here.
Okay.
I'm a taproom manager now, so I'm in charge of everything that is beyond that door. So music and art, my bar staff. I do some accounting. I do a lot of things. That's actually typical for pretty much everybody who works here. Right now, one of our owners is doing the job of our distribution manager, who's on his honeymoon, and so all of us kind of wear different hats to get the job done.
Oh, I completely know about that, working at a small business myself.
Yeah.
I'm the video editor on top of the motor pool manager, as well as, the guy that lifts stuff and
Exactly,
logisticals manager
right.
sometimes.
Which is actually, I think, really beneficial because if one of us has to take off work, we usually have somebody who can fill in, and being able to know other things about other people's jobs is really, I think, helpful to, especially when people ask questions, or gives you a better understanding of what the whole company is about. So, I mean, granted, I don't get up on the system and start brewing, but I know how to brew on the smaller system when I've got some help, and being able to understand that and, work on all these other different projects that people have, I think it's kind of neat.
Yeah.
So.
And see, I think that's the thing about the craft beer that interests me, because I'm sure a lot of breweries and craft brew places, especially here in North Carolina, there's that type of small business model, I've heard many times a guy going to a bar, I'm like, oh, just give me a Miller Lite. Why do I want that fancy crap? When really I feel like craft beer is more of an American thing, in a sense that you have a small business. Guy had a dream.
Yeah.
This is him, putting that into action. He has a small group of people who are loyal, hardworking, willing to work those hard hours to produce a wonderful product.
Yeah, absolutely.
If Miller Lite sends out a batch that isn't quite right, they're like, well, okay, no big deal. I mean,
Yeah.
we were sending out millions upon millions of kegs, but why should I care about this one keg? Where you guys, it's a little different story.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if we send out a bad batch, we're going to hear about it. Best believe it. And, I mean, that's very,
and it's a larger percentage
of
it's a larger percentage of your
anyway.
product that goes out,
Yeah.
than anybody else. So.
Absolutely. And people, I think with a small business and just maybe it's just craft beer being so new to Charlotte, or just with the way we do business. And I can't obviously speak for other breweries, but, if something goes wrong with one of our batches, or even if, one of our people hears somebody talk about our brand in a weird way, it's just interesting to be able to know exactly who to go to, or say, hey, I met Jenny, or I met JP, or Opie, anybody who works with us. We all do so many things, and we self-distribute. Our sales team is always constantly out there to their accounts at different kinds of festivals and events. So we've got a pretty good face. And so if something goes wrong, we're surely going to hear about it. And it's going to come directly to the source, rather than going through all these customer service channels where you have to press 1 or pound or, slam the phone down or something. Like, you call us or you email us and you're getting us.
Yeah, more than likely, if you're complaining to them and the person that picks up is probably the person that might have screwed it up.
Yeah, sometimes it happens.
Sometimes it happens. It's happened more than a few times in my business.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's kind of talk about just the explosion of craft beer in North Carolina.
It's crazy.
It's insane. I think even just the last couple of years, even a couple more have opened up.
Yeah. I've been in Charlotte for 12 years. I came here when I was 18.
Where from?
From Florida.
Okay.
To go to college here, and I never quite left. And in the last 5 or 6 years, there's been such an explosion, not only just of craft beer, but of local centric things. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if that's true for everywhere else, but I recently went home to Florida even, and we have, in my small podunk town, our very first craft beer bar. Yeah. And it's craft beer is all over the place. Yeah. There's a really big drive I've noticed for people to hang on to something that is not just local, but they know exactly the people who made it. They know where the source is. And I think, I'm seeing that a lot, not just in beer in Charlotte, but with local art, local music. There's a really big drive. And I think, they've always been here. Old Mecklenburg was, one of the pioneers of craft beer in Charlotte. We've had a couple other ones. There was Dilworth Brewing, and I think there's South End Brewing. I'm probably wrong on that one. Mm-hmm. But years ago. And just seems like now people are starting to latch on to that. And I can't really speak for why, but I'm sure as heck enjoying it.
That's for sure.
I wouldn't have a career if I didn't have that. and I don't even know how many we have now. I lose track. We
Yeah.
have so many breweries that are popping up, not just in the Charlotte metro area, but just like everywhere around it regionally. All of these crazy beer festivals. I mean, we're going to be at QCBF this weekend, and that's just 3 years old too. So I think we're all really fortunate to be able to put out a good product, and people really like it. Charlotte has embraced craft beer, and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, and I think more so than a lot of other places. It's like I said, there's the influx of all these craft brewery places and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I totally agree with all that, and I think there is that sense of local pride. I think there's a sense of disconnect with. I think people feel it with the government, not to get too political, but I think they feel that with the government, but I think they feel that with some of the products they buy. And I think there's that real true local sense of, like I said, the person that started Birdsong Brewery, they had a dream, this is what they wanted to do, and then they enacted, and they employ hardworking individuals.
Yeah, and even like, not just, like I said, not just beer, like people going to local farmers markets and really wanting to have something fresh and local and know where all that came from. Like this whole, I'm not really sure what to call it, but this just expansion on things that are from your hometown or from where you grew up. Like instead of wanting to get something from miles, across the nation, it's a lot closer to home, which I think has been beneficial. Not only in the craft beer, but just like the local economy. People are starting to go to these independent shops a little more and buy local coffee or, local beans and produce and stuff. And that self-sufficient economy is really sustaining. I mean, it keeps bringing business and people back into what made it great in the first place. Yeah. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely.
Okay. Sometimes I talk in circles until I find my point, which can get really exhausting.
We'll just keep the tape rolling, and then when you come back around again, I'll point you in a different direction. How about that? But anyways, that was one of the things I saw on your website. You use local ingredients as well.
Yes, as much as possible.
Yes.
And sometimes, you can't.
Yeah.
Or it's not financially feasible to. Especially when we're producing things on a much larger scale. Well, we will be than we are now, or even just than, a home brew system. We try to get grains and hops and stuff from local sources when we can. And so a lot of those come in the form of like specialty malts, specialty hops and stuff like that. But a lot of our ad hoc ingredients will come from local small businesses. Central Coffee Company, for example, on Louise, is one of our big suppliers for any coffee-related item that we put in our beer. The Mexicali Stout that I've been drinking today has local Mexican ground coffee from their shop. We use Savory Spice Company for a lot of our spices that we put in our beer. And the produce that we get often comes from our friends' gardens.
Really?
Or our customers' gardens.
That's amazing.
And it's kind of neat because people are able to feel that ownership a little bit. And, they tell their friends, oh, my jalapenos are in the jalapeno beer. Or, the shop owner from Central Coffee Company comes in a lot. And, he knows that his coffee is in our beer. And, he might tell his friends, and then their friends might tell somebody else. And so we do try to keep it as local as possible and as hands-on as possible. I can't necessarily vouch for how that's going to go with our expansion when we're going to be making more beer by the barrel and more often, so we'll be requiring more ingredients. But as it stands now, like the jalapenos we put in our beer, we actually hand-cut 8 to 10 pounds of jalapenos and take out the membranes. And I'll tell you what, it is painful if you forget that you've been cutting them for some reason and you go to touch your eye. That doesn't go away.
I bet not.
It takes a while for that sting to wear off.
Well, it's nice to know that people are sacrificing their eyesight for one of my favorite beers that you guys produce here, which is the jalapeno beer.
Yeah, it's one of our #1 sellers. That and the Higher Ground IPA.
Yes, which I'm also a big fan of that. But I think it's the jalapeno one that it strikes me. I don't know how anybody would have quite come up with that. Like,
It's kind of weird. And And I don't know the whole story because I wasn't there, but
Well, you
what
can just make
I
it
know
up.
of it. Yeah, I'll make it up. Sure.
Make it up.
So we started off brewing the Free Will Pale, and that was our very first beer that we actually put up for wholesale distribution.
It's one of your more milder
Right.
ones, right?
It's actually, we use it as the base for the jalapeno.
Okay.
And when we started, we were using this little doohickey called a Randall, which is basically this little box device that hooks from the taps to the keg, and you can put like fresh ingredients in there, like jalapenos, or we used to do it with mangoes, and we would mangoize our IPA. And so as the beer passes through the little box, that flavor is infused through the beer. And I think that's kind of how the jalapeno started, and people really kind of caught on. They're just like, that's pretty damn good. And people wanted it so much, and we couldn't brew it all the time. And by that point, we had decided, you know what, let's go ahead and actually do it during the actual brewing and fermentation process. I remember when I first started, which was about 2 or 3 months after we opened, and we would have a shortage of jalapeno and wouldn't offer it. People would get mad, and they would look at me like it's my fault. And here I am, like, I'm just serving you beer, like, sure, I shit talk with people, and I joke around a lot, but there were grown men who would come in, they'd have their growlers, and they're just like, I'm going to get a jalapeno, and I have to, like, give them a look, and I'm like, I'm really sorry, like, I can't give it to you today because I don't have it. And they would just look at me like, what? And then they'd walk out. And they'd
Smash
be like,
the growler.
I'm like, well, do you want another beer? Maybe you want the Free Will, and, I'll give you $1 and you can go pick up a jalapeno at Harris Teeter or something. Yeah. And they're just like, no, I'm not coming back until you have the jalapeno again. People would hang up on me. I've seen a lot of people get emotional over not having that beer on tap. And so after a while, I was like, guys, for my sake, please, and my safety, can we just offer it full time?
I don't feel safe walking to my car at the end of the night. These guys with broken growlers.
People have like vendettas against me. No, it's not really. But no, when we did have shortages, when we didn't brew it full time, it became a pretty serious issue. I was like, with my customers, I was like, man, people are going to revolt. Yeah. Like, this is crazy.
But that's a good problem to have. At least you have a product that people have much demand for.
I can't speak for the owners, but man, when we first started, like, I did not think that that beer especially would be as popular. I like it.
Yeah,
but
it's great.
I'm certainly not going to like knife somebody over it. But yeah, that's picked up. The Higher Ground, those two are, number 1 and 2 bestsellers. We can't brew enough of them, it seems.
Yeah. It's a good problem to have.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very good problem to have.
Yeah,
when you find that one product that people really like, you really have to make that your number 1 product.
Absolutely. We're very fortunate to have the support from, the Charlotte community and the craft beer community, and people who like it, people who rate it on apps like Untapped and Beer Advocate and stuff. People get the word out just by sharing it on, social media or through word of mouth with their friends. And we've gotten, pretty big buzz over our beers because of stuff like that. So,
that's awesome. Now, is there any, let's go over some of your seasonals. What are some seasonals that are probably just as popular as that haven't been put in the full rotation?
Okay. Well, it's good that you asked that. The Honey Pie Double IPA.
Okay.
Out right now. We released it on the 15th of this month. That is one of our biggest seasonals, hands down. People go crazy over that. Okay. Tomorrow we'll actually have a cask of it with some papaya, so I'm really excited about that. We use local cloister honey in the making of that. We use about 80-ish pounds per 20-barrel batch. And so there are neat little nuances about that beer, which is what I really like. That based on where the bees were, the honey might be different from batch to batch. So
I'm well aware. My town where I grew up, it was there's big bee apiaries there, and there's a distillery down the road that puts it in bourbon.
Oh,
and it's natural
nice.
honey, and it's not like that extract that you would see in like Jack honey.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that nice thick. It's almost medicinal.
Nice.
Drinking that type of
Like
bourbon.
like a
It's
thick
real
syrup.
thick, yeah. So like
Yeah.
I'm pretty versed in how honey's like different in different
Yeah,
places.
it's so cool. So even between batches, you might pick up a little bit of something different.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think the second and third batches were just straight wildflower honey, but the first batch we had was a combo of wildflower and blueberry honey.
Okay.
So it's just little things like that make it special.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the big ones. What are we coming out with next? Say It to My Face, which is a red IPA, which will be out next month. And that coincides with our salesperson, Jenny, her birthday.
Okay.
So we kind of orchestrate these things a little bit. We have the power
You have
to,
a little bit of fun with it, especially those
yeah.
names. You have the ability to have as much fun as you want with them.
Exactly. My favorite seasonal, which is the Mexicali Stout, which we still have on tap right now, I coincide with my birthday because it is my favorite. That's a coffee mole stout with serranos, cinnamon, Mexican ground coffee from Central Coffee, and what am I missing? Cocoa nibs. And so it's like a slightly spicy alcoholic chocolate milk, which is it's divine. I love it. What else? We've got a lot now.
Yeah, I've noticed your list. Like I for quite some time, I see an
Yeah.
influx of them kind of working
It
in here
keeps
and there.
getting bigger, it seems. We all start most of our seasonals on our pilot batch system, which is about a 5 to 10 gallon brew system, using like a hollowed out keg and a very large like soup kettle to make beer. And every Thursday we issue out a new small batch, and we call it THURSty Thursday. And so most of our seasonal beers, and I think we even started the jalapeno like that originally. And it's just a really cool way for our customers and our staff to gauge different styles and flavors and ingredients, and kind of see what we really like and what we might want to brew more of. So the honey pie kind of started out like that. So did the Mexicali. And so tomorrow we'll have that cask.
Okay.
But I mean, it's something different every time.
So like you have a small batch every Thursday that you try of something new, just experiment. Stuff
Exactly.
Like
So we've got a couple that we saved up, and it's a neat way of experimentation, because with the brewing process, it's very much an artistic process as it is a chemistry-oriented process. And so just by switching up different malts or different hops, or introducing a different yeast strain to the same wort, you can get so many different flavors and styles, and pick up different things about the beer. And so it's a really great way for us to keep growing and keep being creative and experimenting. And you never know what somebody's going to like. Just because we like it doesn't mean that our customers will, or vice versa.
Yeah, because you guys probably have a little bit more educated palate than probably your more other people that just kind of casually drink it.
I think a lot of that is learned too.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of customers who initially
You're inside the beer bubble in a sense,
Yeah, and I'd like to think that a lot of our customers are too. Certainly, we get a lot of beer enthusiasts and beer connoisseurs who come in. But even with some of the regular customers, all it takes is a little education and talking to them about the beer. And getting to know them and what they like. Because, I started off just knowing that I like to drink beer.
Yeah.
And, they liked me and wanted to hire me. So I didn't really have, and I hate to say it, I didn't really have a very extensive knowledge of craft beer when I first started. And a lot of that I just learned along the way. And I self-educated myself and started reading up a little bit and started listening and asking questions. And I think that's all it takes for our customers too, or whenever, whatever topic you're interested in learning.
Yeah.
I remember I was giving a tour to this group of girls, and that was probably one of the best tour groups I ever had, because they just kept asking questions. They wanted to know all about beer. They wanted to know why they didn't like IPAs. Or, when they say, I don't like beer, It's like, well, okay, what don't you like about it? Because you might just not like hops.
Yeah.
You might have a stout or a porter with a little bit of sweetness to it, and you're just like, oh, I really do like beer. So, sometimes it just takes the right questions and the right answers to...
That's a big contention between me and my girlfriend. She doesn't like hoppy beers, but I love hoppy beers, especially all like a citrus type of note to it.
Yeah.
I definitely dig that,
Yeah.
And then I like your higher alcohol content beers that taste extremely smooth as opposed to very heavy.
Yeah.
So I think those are always things that I always lean towards. What would you say your beer style is?
I started off as an IPA fan. I still like them, but I go in cycles with IPAs.
I'm very similar that way too.
Generally, I'm a big dark beer person. The Lazy Bird Brown was the first beer I had from here. I really like a good stout, and porters I'm working into. I generally find them a little too sweet, but I like beer, really. I mean, I don't discriminate.
Yeah.
But there are certain styles that I prefer more than others. So I definitely like the darker beers over Belgian, for example. I don't really like the banana-y, yeasty quality. But now, like, knowing that I don't like it, I actually seek them out on purpose so I can start to learn to like them a little bit more and introduce myself to a lot of other beers that I may not generally want to try because I don't like certain qualities about that style.
Yeah.
So.
It's almost like a hobby in a sense.
It is. I call it market research.
Okay. Well, you're in the industry, but but me, I call it a hobby.
Exactly.
Which it costs $3 to $5 a pint.
Yeah. Personal
usually.
education.
Personal education and knowing the difference between all of those and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Were there any types of beer that you guys thought was going to go over pretty well that didn't turn out quite the way you wanted?
That's tough. Most of the ones that have made it to year-round or seasonal status generally received overwhelming support from our staff and from our patrons. There have been a couple pilot batches that just missed the mark a little bit. But that happens.
Yeah, it happens. Exactly.
That's why they're experimental batches. Because,
Exactly.
Sometimes you might think like, I'm not really sure this is going to be too great. And then people try it and they love it. And then sometimes you're just like, you know what, this is the one.
Yeah.
And then people they're just like, I don't really like it, or I don't know what that style is. Tell me what an Abbey is, or tell me what does it mean when you say a double IPA? What's double about it? Stuff like that. We've had a couple misses, but I would say more often than not, we have pretty good ones that hit the mark that people really tend to enjoy, especially on our Thursdays.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Was there? I think more I was asking is there one that was just like crazy, like I can't believe we're gonna make this short batch, like just whether it hit or it missed. Was there anything like this is really outside the box for us?
I'm trying to think. There have been so many over.
Yeah, because it's every Thursday.
Yeah.
So it's 52 a year.
I mean, yeah, I don't even know half the time.
Well, if nothing strikes.
No, nothing strikes me particularly. But I'm sure there were one or two.
There'd have to be one of those ones that were just try this just for the sake of trying.
Yeah. There was one that we did with maple that customers really liked. I particularly didn't like. But we always are using like weird ingredients sometimes. Like we've used beets before and made a Belgian style wit with them. We're big on the fruit, so we like, little elements of papaya like we're doing in the cask. To be more direct with the answer to your question, I really don't know. Nothing's like ringing a bell at the moment, so.
Okay. But anyways, I also looking at your website, I was looking up the info about your brewmaster.
Yeah, Connor.
Yes. He and I noticed he had a background in like baking. You know, which I once I saw that, I'm like, of course, the correlation with that because of everything else.
Yeah.
And it just because that was one thing that I learned when I took a Maker's Mark distillery was the idea of introducing like wheat in your alcohol and how that changes everything and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, the thing with Connor, what do you think makes him such a good brewmaster? I mean, right there, I think about his, you know, knowledge of wheat.
Yeah.
And because, you know, that was a big thing too. I even heard that Maker's Mark, they would take certain types of wheat and make a loaf of bread, and if they liked the way the bread tasted, that's what they would put in their alcohol.
Interesting.
So that was a way of testing it for themselves.
Really? And this is Maker's Mark?
Yeah, Maker's
I'm a big fan, so.
I am too. I've been to the distillery. It's pretty fantastic.
Nice. That's a really great question. Connor is all around pretty genius. I give him a hard time sometimes just because I can. But he has such a mind for innovation. He's very particular, as he should be, to create a product that's consistent all the way through from one place to the next. He has to be very analytical in that sense. But he's also very creative. He has all of these ideas to blend this ingredient with that ingredient, or to know just the right malt bill to create the wort and the foundation for the beer. I mean, he's old enough to know what he's doing, but he's young enough.
I was going to say, he looks like a young guy.
Yeah, he's 26.
Oh my gosh.
I know, right? Feeling underaccomplished.
Because especially when I clicked on the page and I was kind of like, well, maybe he's like a mid-40-year-old guy. I was expecting some guy, white hair, glasses with a white goatee that probably, you know, who's like your cool uncle. And I see this guy. So now that he's 26, now I feel like what am I doing with my life?
I know, right? He's 26. So he's old enough to know what he's doing.
Yeah.
But he's still young enough to really have that. What's that word I'm looking for? Like, he's not afraid to fail.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
I think that's an important thing, especially in any type of arts, which I think we can call craft brewing.
He's got that risky sense about him where if he wants to try, you know, this with, you know, this malt with this hop or something, he's going to do it. He's going to probably do it on the small system first, but he's going to do it. And I think that's what it still brings that refreshing element to our products too. And I mean, being as analytical as he is with what he's doing and his recipe creation, you know, he's just pretty much an all-around badass. And I'm going to get in trouble for saying that, man, because I said something nice about him.
He's gonna just keep replaying.
He's gonna come at me. He's be like, "Okay, JP, you said something nice. What do you want?"
Well, at least that's one listener to the podcast I'm gonna have for sure. So, but no, I really think it's probably the fact that he has that baking background. I think it's the understanding of like oats and grains and how those all react.
Yeah, because that's very much a chemistry process as well. Like how certain ingredients react with one another. And that translates very much to brewing. So he's got, I mean, generally, I mean, in my experience, you kind of find that either you're that logical science, math, business person, or you're a creative mind. He's got a nice balance between the both. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. Not everyone is as lucky.
No, definitely not. But I'm just looking over here at your small system. I'll probably take the camera and pan it over. It's just a small vat with like a keg, and then you know, like that's your small system.
Yes, that makes about 10 gallons worth of beer.
Okay.
So.
And this behind us, I'm guessing, is the largest system.
Yes, this is our 10-barrel brew system.
Okay.
We will actually, when we move, we'll be moving to a 30-barrel brew system. But this is.
Now, you're staying in this building and just knocking a wall down?
No, we're actually moving completely.
Wow. And first, old Mech just moved, and now you guys are moving.
We're not moving far.
Where are you moving?
We're moving about a mile down the road toward downtown. So we'll be adjacent to the McGill Rose Garden, right before you hit the railroad tracks on Davidson.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's not that far. We're still technically in the Noda Belmont.
Yeah, you're still directions are still the same.
Yeah, pretty much.
So.
Just go down Davidson.
Yeah.
We're just on the opposite side of the street.
Yeah.
But the facility is 3 times the size of what we have now. So it's a little over 17,000 square feet, which sounds really big, but most of it will be dedicated to production. So, because the guys, I mean, they need space to work. As you can see, it's kind of cramped here.
Yeah, it's a tad cramped.
And I mean, we've made do. We're all very close. We kind of have to be.
Yeah.
But the new facility will afford us a lot more room in which to work, a bigger system. We're looking into alternative packaging methods. So that'll be cool. A little bit of a bigger tap room, a private event space. So we're moving on up.
Obviously.
And it's at the time where we kind of feel like it's right for us. It's been a very natural, organic growth for us in the last 3 years. And this just seemed like the next logical step. So.
Absolutely. Now you just mentioned the tap room.
Yeah.
You have like all kinds, which is your
my domain.
Your domain.
Yes.
Your kingdom, if you will.
Yes.
But like I said, you have your THURSty Thursdays where you try the new batch, and then of course you have musical acts and stuff like that. You said you're gonna have a larger tap room in the future. What are some other things that you're thinking about? What could people do with the tap room, like as far as events? What are the things that you're excited the most about this upgrade to your kingdom?
My kingdom. In the tap room that we have now, I like that it's a little on the small side.
Yeah.
I think that the intimacy factor that we have with our patrons, being able to get to know them and talk to them, get to know who they are and what their families do and stuff like that. That's been integral to our success in the tap room. And I think one of the reasons why people come to visit us repeatedly. That being said, I would like it to be just a little bit bigger. And it will be. And we'll have a new bar that is being built by one of our good dear friends, Ivan Harp, who's extremely talented with woodworking, and so it'll be a little bit bigger. We now know where we stand in the Charlotte craft beer community. As far as when we first started, we didn't think that we'd become as popular as we have been. So with that in mind, we're kind of constructing our tap room with a little more of a flow. A little bit more space. I'm excited to have like a designated area for our artists and our musicians to play, and just something nice and refreshing. We'll have a lot more windows. I love the natural light. I think that's awesome. But we're still going to maintain much of the same feel that we have and what we have developed here. Still no TVs. I think TV. While it's great for watching the game and stuff, sometimes it turns into a bit of a distraction. And we want people, when they come and sit down at the bar or sit down at one of the tables in the tap room, to talk. We want to facilitate...
To be human beings and socialize.
Yeah. Novel idea. And, certainly it's not to say anything about places that do have TVs. Because I like to sit down and, like to watch some games myself. Yeah. But when you're here, you really are, like... part of our family. We want to facilitate that conversation. I want people to become friends when they sit down at the bar, not just friends with me, which I've been fortunate enough to be able to forge those relationships with people, but I want you to sit down and talk to the person next to you, even if it's, just about talking about the weather or something. And I think that is kind of invaluable because that creates a culture. And that culture that we've been able to develop with our patrons and our staff is it's really important. And that's what really what beer is all about, right? You sit down, you have a pint, and you talk to people. And y'all cheers and you clink your glasses and you have fun. And I think that's something that we're definitely going to keep when we move to the new space. So just because we're getting bigger doesn't mean we're going to change all that much. We're still going to be pretty down home.
Well, good. That's good. That's good to hear. So,
Yeah.
let's talk about distribution right
Okay.
now, because you talk about packaging.
Yes.
So I can only imagine when a shipment needs to go out, how crazy things get, and working
Yeah.
under a deadline. And working for a small company, I understand how that is. What is your guys' distribution right now? Like, how many stores you going out to? How many beer bars you guys in? You know, like.
Well, we're mainly in the Charlotte area and the surrounding area. So like Huntersville, Ballantyne, Mint Hill, places in and around Charlotte. We have over 200 accounts, bars and restaurants, hotels, country clubs and stuff that we sell our beer to. We've when I started, we had 32.
Okay.
So it's been a dramatic growth, and really our sales team is phenomenal. All three of the girls are fantastic, but without the guys back here, we wouldn't have a product to sell, and so they've done a really great job making sure that the beer not only tastes good when the girls sell it, but that our delivery team, our distribution team, gets it to the right places on time, and they take care of a lot of the troubleshooting stuff, cleaning the lines and everything. So right now it's just mainly in the Charlotte area. We've got people from all over North Carolina who are asking us for our beer. People continue to ask us if we're going to go to South Carolina or Virginia or West Virginia, Tennessee. But right now we're going to keep it pretty local, fairly regional.
Yeah, because you don't want to put the cart before the horse,
Right.
obviously, in that situation.
Yeah, and our goal isn't to conquer the world with beer. We're happy just getting beer out there and people enjoying it. So right now we're going to try and keep it small, pretty close to home. That way, we can kind of take care of things. We like doing everything in-house as much as possible. I think that, again, it goes back to developing that culture and that brand identity that we have. When you see one of our delivery guys out and he's like, hey, how's it going? And, you can talk to them and get to know them a little bit, ask them about the beer or something and, how their day went. And that, having that connection to that source, I think, is really important. So we're going to try to continue to do that as much as possible.
Okay. Well, we're getting pretty close to the end here. So is there anything in particular that we haven't gone over, anything you guys want to put out there, promote, or get anything out there about Birdsong Brewing?
Great question. Come see us. Come see us at the tap room and drink our beer. I can't think of anything specific. I'm grateful that you reached out and you wanted to talk. So.
Oh, I
and
appreciate
let me,
you. So.
Were you like filming or taping that earlier bit before we started, where I was talking about meatloaf and doing karaoke and stuff?
You're a real person. You're allowed to like meatloaf.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little podcast trick.
So let me goof around a little bit.
Yeah, goof around a little bit. Open yourself up.
Yeah. Earlier, I was definitely like adjusting my hair in the camera, so I hope that wasn't filming.
I was doing the same thing. So. But that's why I always try and look ugly so everybody else feels good about being on camera. So
that's your trick.
that's the other podcast trick. So, but what about Facebook, Twitter, social media?
At Birdsong Brewing on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Our salesperson Jenny, she also mans the social media, which she does a fantastic job.
And your website's fantastic.
And our website,
I love your website.
Yeah,
it's great.
we go through a local company's subliminal design for that, and so we take care of a lot of that. I have the pleasure of writing our weekly newsletters, which you can sign up for on our website. They're full of information because I'm a wealth of knowledge. So we always like to tell you about what the beer is on Thursdays, where we'll be out around town throughout the week and the coming month, new places you can find our beer and stuff. So that's a really great way to stay connected to Birdsong and what we like to do. So social media and the newsletter are really great ways, and just come in and hang out and shoot the shit with us. We love to talk to people. We love answering questions, and dancing behind the bar. We're big on music and dancing, so a lot of that happens.
Okay.
So
All right.
we
Sounds
just like
great.
to lay back and have some fun. So
Oh, good deal. Well, after I stop recording and pack all this up, I'll go in there and grab a pint.
that would be great.
What would
yeah.
you recommend me to have a taste of?
Man, you did say that you liked the higher alcohol ones that are kind of smooth.
Yeah.
So I would definitely go for a honey pie.
Okay.
It's only going to be around for a little bit longer, so it's definitely one to try this year before it runs out.
All right. Well, thank you, JP, for
Yeah,
being
thank
on
you,
here,
Jake. I
and
appreciate it.
I appreciate everything. So
Awesome.
make sure you drink Birdsong Brewery and follow them on Twitter and Facebook, Instagram, and everything else.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you.